And speaking of eating, you do a lot of smoking.
I used to. I don't have a smoker grill at the moment, but when I stayed with mom and dad's, even still, I go over to mom and dad's and we do a cookout. Yeah, I'm always on the grill.
And the type of smoking you do is not it's not a pellet smoker. It's not a Traeger. It's not a.
I guess you call it old school. I don't know.
Yep, it's a barrel smoker with a wood box on the side, and we grew up doing this.
Yeah.
You still do it a lot. I haven't done it in years.
Yeah.
But you've got it figured out like pretty good. Like you know how to keep the fire regulated. You know,
Keep the heat rolling.
you make some good burgers. Do you like to cook? Is that like?
I do, but I don't. If that makes sense. It just takes so long sometimes, but like you get to good food afterwards, it's always worth it.
Yeah, especially when it comes off of a smoker. I mean, I don't know how many people out there's ever had smoked hamburgers off of a barrel grill, but if you've never had it, you should try it because it's delicious.
Even just a hot dog.
Yeah, hot dogs are good too. But we've also done a lot of deer and pork and barbecue and
just about anything you think of. Bacon. Oh.
so there was a point when we got into shooting. We used to go every weekend and go skeet shooting. I don't think you've shot in a while. I definitely haven't shot in a while.
A couple of years, yeah.
But that was pretty fun. We wasted a lot of ammo doing that.
Looking back, we should have never shot that much, but like, good times. It was fun.
Yeah,
I would still go do it again if ammo wasn't so expensive nowadays and you could actually find it.
Yeah, the Appalachian Gun and Pawn down in town has ammo just about all the time, but because I guess they have ammo, it's always outrageous.
Yeah.
You don't do any kind of shooting nowadays, do you? Nothing?
No. I was just talking to Jake the other day because he recently got a new shotgun. But they were doing some shooting at his house, and he told me to bring my gun over because the last gun I bought, I still hadn't even shot.
What did you buy?
Well, you remember went and bought the Canic. Well, I had my 1911, and I sold it. And I took the money from it and went and bought a Canic 9mm. I got to shoot that one a couple times, and come to find out it had a jamming problem with a weak spring, blah, blah, blah. Instead of just dealing with it and getting a new spring, I ended up trading that for a CZ 9mm. And I had it for, I don't know, probably a year and a half. I never got to shoot it. And then I had a guy at work had a Glock 40. I don't know why everybody has a Glock, and I've always wanted to get a Glock, and I just never wanted to actually spend the money on one. And he offered me a trade for his Glock 40 for that 9, and we did gun for gun and ammo for ammo. So I walked away with a Glock 40 and 800 or 900 rounds of 40 ammo.
Nice.
But
You've shot the 40?
I shot the 40
Okay.
still.
Well, that's funny because because I'm working on getting into the competition pistols, and I'm looking at a Canic.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit newer model than the one you had, so I don't think it's got the same problem with the spring, but
Yeah.
a lot of guys run Canic because it's good entry-level comp guns. But
Yeah, that was the thing. It was supposed to be a buy and ready comp gun.
yeah, and if you like the one that you had with the hologram sight on the top and all that, it is absolutely. And the one I'm looking at buying, actually, was yours a full frame?
It was the biggest one that I guess they had.
Okay, so the one I'm looking at isn't considered a full frame; it's considered a compact. So it's got a 4.5-inch barrel, but it's a threaded barrel.
Yeah.
Comes with the sight and comes with a custom trigger that you can do trigger work too. But if it's not the Canic, then it's the CZ. A lot of people run CZ 9mm as comp guns because they're so good. So that's interesting that you had two competition pistols back to back.
I really wish I would have kept that CZ. Just holding the gun without even shooting it, it was probably one of the best feeling guns that I've ever had in my hand. Shooting it would be different, of course, but I wish I would at least shot it to find out.
Did the CZ have sights or anything on it, or was it just a base gun?
I think it had like night sights on it, maybe.
Okay.
Nothing special.
Yeah, so I'm planning on buying a Canic and then going and shooting taking some classes, learning how to properly draw, and eventually with the end goal by the end of the year being able to run a comp course in a decent time. I'm not trying to be a professional or nothing, but excuse me. Do you ever plan on buying a Jeep or anything like that again?
You know, I was telling Reese the other day that I kind of got it itching to buy something and have like a project, I guess. And I wouldn't say it was easy doing it to the Jeep, but since I've already been there and done it, I feel like that would be the best route to go because I can kind of do what I want with it.
Yeah.
So I've thought about doing it, but I with everything going on, I'm still going to just wait it out and see what happens.
So are you thinking a Jeep or are you thinking a truck or?
Well, my next vehicle, I'm aiming to get something more reliable. My little Ranger I got now, I don't trust it to go to work some mornings. But the first goal is to get something reliable, and I would like to get a truck. And I don't want to get crazy with it because I'm going to be using it as a daily driver and such. But, lift it up, put some nicer tires or whatnot on it. And one day I want to buy another project of some sort.
I was talking the other day about trading my truck for a Jeep.
Yeah.
There's a dealership in town that's got a LJ, but it's a TJ. No, it's a TJ body style. So it was before the JKs, but after, I don't know, it's got the round headlights, but it's not a JK. It was the year before, but it's an LJ. This is the long,
Yeah.
and it's bright ass yellow. I mean, bright yellow. And we stopped and looked at it. It's automatic. It was lifted. I think it had 33s on it. Hard top.
Okay.
And it had like 200,000, I think, on it. They wanted like 19 for it.
That's crazy.
I probably could trade my truck even for it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a ripoff. 19 grand for a Jeep that old? Because it had to be 2006 or 2005. I think it was a 2005 or 2006. They changed the JK in 2008.
Yeah.
I looked at that one and I was like, man, and this was months ago. This has been like not that long, like probably 4 months ago. We drove through town the other day and went by that car lot and it's still there.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that is still there because nobody's going to pay 19 grand for it.
Not for an older one like that. And that's one thing I have, like, I'm not going to say an issue with, but I mean, I work on Jeeps every day, so I see all of them. I see the lifted ones, I see the stock ones, and it's just something easy for me, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I took my truck and after I did all the front end work to it, I decided to rip all the shit out of the bed because I had that whole camper set up in there. And I'm like, well, this is just going to go back to being a pavement princess. Then after I did it, the last couple of weeks, I've gotten an itch to go camping. And I'm like, man, I wish I still had that set up back there. So I've kind of got that itch too about buying another project to turn into like an overland rig or.
Yeah, that's another thing why I want to have something, a truck or Jeep wise, because I can't really take my bike out or, my little two-wheel Ranger up the mountain road. I mean, I guess I could, but.
But also at the same time, I was telling Amanda too, like, I'm at a point where like I want like a muscle car. I want something that I can like go fast and burn tires and.
I agree because I want a little fast car too.
And she's like, "Why do you don't need that? You're gonna kill yourself." And I'm like, "Listen, I'm like at that age of my life where I've never had one, I've never owned one, and I don't even know specifically if it has to be a Mustang, but man, some of the new Mustangs like the GTs."
Yeah.
The way some of these guys have got them tricked out, the loud exhaust and stuff.
They're nice.
They're super nice. And there's just so many, like, I don't know if you call them muscle cars nowadays because they're not the old muscle cars of years past, but they're sports cars rather.
Right.
And there's so many out there now that are from every different manufacturer, different names, different this, different that are just so badass.
Yep.
Like, I would love to have one of them and just have something to run the mountains in on the weekends.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon because
not for me
the price of
either.
cars is ridiculous.
I think cars cost as much as trucks now.
Probably, well, I don't know,
Well,
man.
those sports cars, so to speak.
Yeah, you could probably get a sports car for what the cost of a base model work truck cost.
Yeah.
Like if
Depends
you go,
on what packages you
like
go
if you go
with.
to a dealership and you look at like a single cab Chevy Silverado 1500 with a rubber floor mat in it that's considered a work truck, it's like $70,000. Like, what the heck?
Well, I know the muscle cars shit I work on it around are still $100,000 or better.
Oh yeah, but you're
times.
working on those red eyes and the 392s, scat packs, and you've got those Wagoneers, those new Wagoneers up in there that are $120,000.
Yep.
You've had a couple of those Hellcat Cherokees. Is that right?
It's been I hadn't seen any of the Cherokees yet, but I've worked on a couple of the 392 Cherokees.
Okay. I didn't. Is there a Hellcat Cherokee? Maybe I just made that up.
I don't know if it's considered a Hellcat, but they have like a red eye Cherokee. So
Okay.
I know
I
know they have the red eye Durangos and stuff. So
I guess it would be a Hellcat though, because I think the red eye is a Hellcat.
I think it's still
Yeah. I don't know. Those cars are stupid expensive.
I think the Cherokee you're talking about is the Trackhawks.
Is that a 392?
I don't know what the motor in it is, but it's supposed to
It's like 800 horses.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's probably got one of the fastest launches in
Yeah, especially when
SUV or something
when you
like
lock it
that.
in four-wheel drive off the line.
I know a couple months back, one of the techs over on the service side was test driving one they worked on, and he come and got my manager to ride with him, and my manager said they did a launch, and he went from 0 to 60 in like 2.8 seconds or something like that.
It's ridiculous.
And a big SUV, that's crazy.
It's at probably around 6,000 pounds.
Yeah, they're big.
Yeah, giant, heavy. I mean, I know what it was like working on a Grand Cherokee from the 90s.
Yeah.
Terrifying to lay under one and fix something because they're so heavy.
Or towing one.
Or towing one, they're so heavy. I mean,
Yep.
but all right. This is a question that I wanted to save for last. I think I'm going to do it over all the podcasts, but I know that you have some stories about the woods because I was involved in it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into it too much because eventually I plan to have you and Hunter, and maybe if I can talk Zach into it, having Zach on too, because we were all there.
Right.
And having just a sit down, all of us spend an hour or so talking about the event from start to finish, because me and Zach were there, but we didn't really participate in everything that was going on. But my question is, and that may be the story, what is the wildest thing, or I don't know how you should say, maybe wildest or scariest or most uncommon thing that has ever happened to you at any point in time in the woods or out camping or fishing or anything?
I gotta say, it probably is that incident that you're referring to. But I've been in the woods a good bit, camping, hunting, all of it. I've heard noises. I've never really seen anything, even still. Everything I hear more stuff than anything. And a lot of the stuff is something that nobody could explain, or I probably couldn't explain to you how the sound went. So the most memorable is a time you're referring to.
Do you think that the noises you're hearing, a lot of people say that it's just a figment, like it's your mind playing tricks on you. You've been in the woods for a few hours, you're cold, you're doing this, you're doing that. Do you think that's a possibility, or do you think that you're actually hearing things?
I do believe that you can, and your mind will get to you, and you can hear stuff. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking too much about it, but I feel like I've been in the woods enough to know, like, if my mind is getting to me, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like everything that I have heard or thought I heard is, for the most part, I am actually hearing it.
Yeah. There have been a few times where I've seen something and I've had to really focus, rub my eyes.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? And then realize that my mind's playing tricks on me.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen tree stumps
Yeah.
from afar and it looked like an animal or something standing there. And like instantly my heart starts beating and I'm like, what the hell? And then I look closely and refocus.
See, I think that's one thing, like I was saying, is like something like me and you, we've been in the woods enough. Like, if we see something, we're not gonna just glance at it and then like turn and run or whatever. If we don't know what it is, we're gonna keep looking at it and try to figure out, like, you know, bob around, get a different angle at it, and see what it actually is, instead of turning the other way or walking away or, you know, something like that.
So the particular incident or particular story that we are talking about, I said I don't want to get into it too much. I got into it a little bit in the first podcast, so it's not like I don't want to talk about it. But basically, we were out camping up near Springer, and long story short, you and Hunter had went off to get some firewood.
Right.
You had something that was moving at you at a high rate of speed. You yelled at it, drew a gun on it, said, hey, I'm going to shoot you if you don't stop. It stopped. You never seen it.
Never heard it again.
Never heard it again. Came back to camp, or came back to the fire less than 50 yards, you say?
It really wasn't far. I don't know yardage-wise or anything like that, but it was close enough I could still hear the radio playing and stuff like that.
So let's just 50 yards. You come back to camp. You could still hear the radio and stuff playing, so you were close enough that we at the camp should have been able to hear you yelling at this.
Well, with the radio playing and campfire going, maybe not, but yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, so y'all come back, obviously in a panic.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the hell? And so y'all start telling us the story. We didn't hear it. We didn't see it. We didn't experience none of it. We were completely dumbfounded.
Yeah.
You explained the sound as being like sort of a flying or humming, is what you said.
Yeah.
Which is kind of also crazy because you don't really hear. That's not a natural noise.
No,
so obviously you're going to know, like, okay, that's not a natural noise. Why is that noise moving at me at a high rate of speed?
Well, I think a big thing too, and what kind of, I guess, made me realize it's not a natural thing is, I mean, we were on top of the mountain, and where we were getting firewood, I mean, we're on a, I don't know, like a 30% grade or something. Like, it's steep.
It's a pretty steep hill.
And if you think about it, you're standing on the hill and you look down the mountain, you at some point you're looking out into the sky or some sort, nothing like that. The sound that we were hearing sounded like it was coming straight at us. Like, so at some point it was not on the ground, you know, it was coming up on the ground, and been coming up at us. It sounded like it was coming from up at us.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you'd be looking off into the horizon.
Right.
And so if you're hearing a noise that you think's coming from the horizon, that obviously is not at ground level. And that would explain why it was a flying or buzzing or humming noise, because it was actually in the air.
Right.
But you explained it as it was coming at you at a high rate of speed. And by high rate of speed, you mean like...
Well, so the best way I can explain it is when me and Hunter got down there and started collecting wood, I didn't realize until it started getting closer, but when we got down there, I could hear the noise off in the distance. It was a ways off, like a faint whatever. I never crossed my mind or nothing, because it's the woods, whatever. And as we were getting fire, what we did was we decided to designate a spot to wood. We would bring wood, throw it in a pile, and then when we got a decent pile, we would just grab up as much as we could and tote it back all at the same time, instead of having to run back and forth 100 times. Well, anyways, I had went and got some wood, brought it back, put it in the pile, and at the same time, mine was coming up. And we were standing there talking, and then it just hit me that this noise is getting louder. I'm like, you hear that? He's like, yeah, well, as we're standing there talking, it just sounds like it's getting louder and louder and louder and louder until it felt like it was right there on top of us. And then that's when...
It closed the distance. Sounds like it closed the distance pretty quick,
Yeah,
like less than 10 seconds.
That's why I said I yelled at it, because it just was happening so fast, I didn't know what else to do. Like, it just kind of happened, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like I yelled and nothing. Silence, never heard it again. After that, I yelled down the hill. I'm like, if there's anybody down in the woods, like, this ain't a joke. Like, I will fucking shoot you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, don't be playing around. We're in the middle of the woods. Me and him had flashlights. We were scanning the woods. There was nothing. We couldn't ever see nothing. None of that.
Well, like I said, we'll leave it at that, because I want to have all of you guys on at the same time, so we can kind of get each one of y'all's stories about like what was going on. Me and Zach don't really matter all that much because we were at the camp. We only know what y'all came back and explained to us. But
we'll have to get Hunter, because
I know Hunter. The thing is, Hunter's never really talked a whole lot about it.
Well, it's weird because like I feel weird talking about it, if that makes sense, because it's something that really scared me.
Yeah.
And it just makes me feel weird talking about it. But, like, we have been together and have told the story, and I don't think there's nothing that neither one of us could say that would be off of what one of us experienced, because it was literally that real to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more interested in y'all telling the story together, because it happened to both of y'all. And I'm not really so much worried about y'all telling the story separately and them not matching, because
no, I'm just saying, yeah.
Even if it might have happened to both of y'all, but y'all probably still have different outlooks on the way the story went down, which is fine. Yeah. But I want to have both of y'all together, since it happened to both of y'all, and have us all sit down and have a conversation about it. Because I was thinking about it the other day, and there's a point in that whole story that I remember what was going down, but there's some of the shit that I don't remember. Like, I know we were camping. I know we were on Hawk Mountain. We were in we had your Jeep, and it was either my truck or my Jeep.
I want to say you was in your Jeep.
Yeah.
At the time you had your Jeep.
And I don't remember why. I know we got to camp late. It was like after dark. I don't know why we got there so late. I don't know. Like, I knew it was either in my Jeep or my truck, and then I know I had my AR there, and my AR was out, and then the gun that you were carrying was my 44 Special, because before y'all left to go get firewood, you had asked, and then I wasn't feeling good, but I don't remember why I wasn't feeling good, and so that's why me and Zach stayed at the camp. I was laying down by the fire.
I think I remember that,
Yeah, I remember laying next to the fire, because I was like, man, I don't feel good. And I got my pack and my AR out, and I laid the AR up against the whatever vehicle I was in, and I put the pack down as my pillow, and I laid down next to the fire. And y'all were like, okay, well, since you don't feel good, we're going to go get firewood, and we'll keep the fire going. I was like, all right, cool. And then, of course, it was like a little bit later, y'all come back with everything. So I think it would be good for all of us to just recount the whole story, because I've had a lot of people that I've kind of mentioned it to that have asked me, man, you need to tell the story. And I'm like, well, it's not my story to tell, as it didn't directly happen to me. Right. Well, you need to get your brother on a video or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, maybe one day. And there's been a couple of times we've camped together, and I haven't, for whatever reason, we never get into it.
Yeah. Well, usually when you're camping, you don't want to get into a story like that and get your shit stirred up. You know?
True, yeah. So, aside from that experience, is there any other? I mean, it doesn't have to be that type of experience, but is there any other experiences that you've had that were wild or crazy or?
Nothing on that level. No. I mean, other than just hearing stuff, which a lot of the stuff could probably be explained, for all I know, but not really, no.
And so, like, a common thing I'm noticing is more, as I talk to people more and more, if you've spent any amount of time in the woods, whether it's camping or bushcrafting or whatever you're doing, if you're in the woods, you're hearing noises.
Yeah.
you may be seeing things. And like I was saying a while ago, some things can be explained away, some things can't. But everybody that spends time in the woods, I don't care, sees things, or hears things.
Yeah.
And it's always sort of the same story, like, I heard this, but I've never seen anything. So just really interesting. I'm the more people that I have on, the more I'm interested to see like what everybody's stories are, because so far it's pretty on par with everybody being sort of the same story. Like, a bunch of people have heard things, nobody's ever seen anything. And we kind of touched on this in the last podcast, so I don't want to keep repeating myself, but not everybody, one person or two people or maybe even 10 people or 20 people could be crazy. But when you've got hundreds of hunters who experience this, because it happens a lot with hunters, because hunters spend a lot of time in the woods.
Yeah, well, they have to, scout areas and
Yeah, I mean, scout areas, but not only that, they're in a deer stand. A lot of hard hunters are there all day, and they're in the woods by themselves, quiet, not making a move, not making a noise. Arguably, hunters may be in the woods more than anybody else. Hikers, campers. I mean, during deer season, they might sit 8 hours a day for 4 or 5 days in a row, So that's a lot of time in the woods. And so you hear a lot of stories coming from hunters about hearing things or having weird things happen to them in the woods.
Yep.
It's just wild stuff, man. So what, like, moving forward from here, you're going to be getting married soon.
Yeah.
And we were actually going to do a trip this upcoming year, but you're going to have to take the time to get married. What are your plans? Like, you have anything that you want to do in the next year or two as far as camping, or like, do you have any goals, places you want to camp, places you want to visit, anything like that?
I really hadn't thought about it. My biggest goal right now is to get married and, move forward from that. And then, I mean, because that's taken up so much of my time here lately, having to go to the vendor meetings and like it's every other weekend or doing pictures or something like that. So I've never really have sat down and thought about it, I guess. Just a main goal or something I could say is I would just like to get out and do it more often.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while
Wolf
now.
Creek, I guess, when we went out.
Well, we did the kayaking trip.
Yeah, actually, I was about to circle back to that because
I would like to do another kayaking trip. That was most definitely fun.
I really enjoyed that too. Circling back to that kayaking trip, though, because I just asked you if you've ever had a weird experience.
Oh, yeah.
A wild experience.
That one was a pretty good one, too.
Still don't know what it was or why it happened, but so Nathan and I went on I think it ended up being 4 days total.
Yeah.
We had planned for 5 days. We ended up paddling a little faster than what we anticipated on in the beginning, but here in North Georgia, we have a pretty big popular river called the Etowah River, and its headwaters are just above Dahlonega, Georgia, and it runs into Allatoona, or Lake Allatoona, and then it runs out of Lake Allatoona for like another 100 and some odd miles. From the headwaters to Allatoona is like 96 miles, and we set out with the goal of paddling as far up into the headwaters as we could go to the lake. I think we ended up missing like the first 20 miles of the headwaters because it was just so shallow. Even where we started was shallow.
Yeah.
But I think we ended up doing like 80 miles, 84 miles is what I think we ended up doing all the way to the lake. On like the second to last day, so the third day in, we had already covered like 60 miles.
We started getting in the slow waters at that point.
We started getting into some real slow waters, and actually where this event happened that I'm about to tell you guys about was just past the very last rapid that we even crossed on the rest of that trip. It may have been, the rapids right under the a 575, 515 bridge. They, there was those 3 huge bridges and we crossed under, and there was a bunch of strainers, and we had to stay river right, and there was a pretty good rapid through there. And we had just crossed through the rapid, and we were laughing about going through the rapid because we were on sit on tops, loaded down with like 50 pounds of gear, and we were just laughing. And once you pass that interstate, you start getting into the Canton area. It starts getting real busy on both sides of the creek, or river rather, and I was just paddling along. Nathan was probably 20 yards behind me.
Give or take.
And I noticed on River Right, before I was coming up to it, there was an intake pipe, or I thought it was an intake pipe, on the bank on River Right. There was only probably a foot of it sticking out of the top of the water. The rest of it was submerged. And I had literally just turned my GoPro off. It was on my chest, and I turned it on before we went through the rapid. After we got out of the rapid, I turned it off. Me and Nathan were cutting up, laughing. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this giant bubble of water comes erupting out of the bottom of the river, and it was almost like a fountain.
Yeah.
And
it was crazy.
Had I been like 6 feet
that way,
river right, it would have flipped me over. The force that came out of it.
It was coming up off the top of the surface of the water, 2 or 3 foot when it was at its best.
And it came off the bottom of the river. Yeah. You could see the water that came to the top was brown, muddy. Yep. So it had to have come close to the bottom of the river anyways. But it was huge. It was like probably the length of 2 of my boats. And the sit-on tops that we brought are 10.5 feet sit-on tops. And it was just a couple feet to the right of me to the bank wide. So probably 10 feet wide. No. And I can only explain it. The only thing that I can figure is that must actually be a discharge pipe there. Right. What it's discharging, I don't know, or where it's coming from, because there was some like housing, maybe like
some building or something.
Something up there. But like just out of nowhere, this thing erupted into a fountain and almost flipped me over. Immediately, my heart rate was like 200.
Oh, yeah, mine was too, and I wasn't even that close. I'm like, what is going on?
I mean, immediately, my heart rate was like 200, and we talked about that until what?
We went to bed that night. We were talking about it.
And I kicked myself in the ass for not having the GoPro recording when that happened, because, I mean, it literally, as soon as I turned my GoPro off, that happened. But it only lasted for a second. It was a weird thing. It kicked on. Like, I would swear that someone was, like, sitting over and watching and was like, watch this, I'm going to fuck with these guys, and I'm going to turn the water on right when they go by. Because we were going by, it kicked on, and as soon as
it went off.
And, like, as soon as I noticed what was happening, I took off paddling as hard as I could to get out of the way, and you're like, what the hell? And then it just went away. Yeah. The water wasn't even moving.
It went away enough for me to not have to move, like, go around it if it was still there.
And, like, I was trying my damn hardest to paddle away from the thing as fast as I could, because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
That wasn't, like, paranormal or anything, but that was a wild experience.
That was different.
And
it's just weird because we don't know what. Still, we have guesses, but we don't know what it was.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the thing that explains it the most is that pipe being in the water is obviously an intake or outtake pipe, or I don't know what you would call it, but anyways, there's a pipe there. I don't even know if it came out of the pipe. It didn't seem like it came out of the pipe. It seemed like it came off the bottom of the river. So maybe there was a buried pipe down there, a discharge pipe, because we had seen
other pipes.
Discharge pipes that were actually dumping water through that whole trip. So, you get married in September. And so hopefully once y'all get married.
I'm looking probably next spring I can start getting back out and doing my thing again.
That'll be good. That'll be good for you, and get out and we can plan some other trips. Because I think we talked about doing the lower Etowah. Yeah. And we need probably 4 or 5 days, I'd say, because it's another good.
Yeah, that's another thing why I'm trying to wait till after that, because I'm having to take all this time off.
Yeah.
So I won't be. I got to save all I can spare.
Yeah. We need to plan a weekend whenever you're not doing anything and go out and do some camping.
Yeah.
I know we talked the other day.
I was trying to you messaged me about it going after this, and I was down for it, but I forgot I had told that guy that I was going to help him.
Yeah. It's all good. I think tonight.
I know it's calling for rain tomorrow, too.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a 50% chance or something, but I think I seen, it might have been last night. I don't know. It was supposed to get down around freezing or below freezing again.
No.
And it might have been last night because, like I said, when I woke up this morning, there was ice in the cold plunge. So that means that it at least had to get freezing.
Yeah.
But I definitely we need to try to get back up to Wolf Creek or.
Yeah, speaking of which, Jake actually asked me the weekend I was sick on Christmas when it was so cold. He was saying he wanted to get out and go camping.
Well, what's funny about that is I had a memory on my Facebook from that weekend would have been a few days before Christmas. Yeah. I think it was the 21st and the 22nd from like 2018 or something of us camping out at Billy's old property.
Yeah.
And it was frigid. Mm-hmm. It was like ice on the tents in that memory. So you have a Facebook, you have an Instagram. You don't really post a whole lot on the Instagram anymore.
I hardly ever used the Instagram.
Okay, so I was just going to see if you wanted to give out your social media for people to follow if you post stuff on there, but I don't think you post enough.
I was about to say, I mean, you're more than welcome to, but I don't really do a lot. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna push people your way if you're not putting out content.
Yeah, every now and then I got a bike pic or something to post on there, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on again, man. It's been a good talk, and I look forward to getting you and Hunter on and going over this incident that we were just touched on a little bit. So
it was fun. We'll have to do it again for sure.
Yeah, man. Let's get out of here.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Before we close this out, I have a favor to ask from the audience. One, could you please be sure you subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening so that you can receive all new episodes right when they're released. And then if you could, go ahead and head over to iTunes or the Apple Podcast app and leave a review. Man, tell us what you enjoyed or what we could do better. Offer up a guest recommendation, etc. This will help tremendously in letting Apple know that people are actually enjoying the content, and it will help us be put into the search engines or recommended more often in the search engines. And lastly, Dirtbag Adventures is on several social platforms, including YouTube. Really, the best way to reach this content is by going to www.dirtbagadventurespodcast.buzzsprout.com. And then once you're on the website, you'll see the podcast episodes down at the bottom in chronological order. And then at the top of the homepage, you'll find all of the social links for the other various platforms that Dirtbag Adventures is on. And thank you again for joining me in this episode of the Dirtbag Adventures Podcast. Catch you on the next one.